Hello, bonjour everybody from Paris. It's nice to see you again to our webinar session. We just would like to test first if the sound and the image is okay for you. Can you please tell us? Good morning from Iceland. Christine, can you please tell us if the sound is okay? Thank you. Yes, for me. Excellent. Okay, good. Thank you, Linda from Italy, Peter, Bulgaria. It's nice to see you guys. Good morning to you. Okay, so today it's a new session of our autumn webinar. We organize this kind of events to enlarge the scope of our knowledge and also to strengthen the relationship we have between our clients and peers and exchange around revenue management, how to do better. And we think it's important nowadays to let's say cut or stop the isolation and continue to improve the way we do. My name is Emmanuel Scuto. I'm the CEO and founder of WeYield. I'm in the revenue management for the past 25 years and in the car rental industry as such for the last 20. WeYield is a company that aims to help the car rental companies, either independents or franchisee, who feel a frustration between the discrepancy, the level, let's say, of information they have, and the level of information they would like to have in order to improve their performance. So we help through consulting activities, through with tools, in order to work better on a day-to-day. So today we have the chance to greet Christian Cadéré, our CTO, so the director of our development, who will share the last innovation that has been released. And the benefit you will get is really to see, yes, it is possible to control or anticipate or reduce the uncertainty, which is for us really important to be able to have a better vision of the future. So we will have some, you will be free to ask some questions via the question button on the top right of your screen. And also you can exchange with us via the answer, which is the chat button. So feel free to interact with Christian to answer his question, but also to ask and to ask yours. At the end of for the audience and the one who have participated, I have a special gift to share with you. It's important for us in this particular moment to contribute also to the difficulties. And for the one of you who feel they may have some difficulties in understanding the type of change they would need to do, or if they have some, as we say, pebbles in the shoes, we could help, and I will help to focus more on your revenue management difficulties and see how we can, or how you can change and put in place some new processes, which will be easy and light. So it's a free gift for you today. And I will give you the procedure to access to it at the end of the presentation. Voila, I give the hand to Christian. I will welcome you and have a great session with Christian.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us at this session of the Autumn WeYield webinar. This is what is going to happen. I will present you 3 new modules that were developed by the product and innovation team in the last months. I'll try to keep it short, let's say 30-40 minutes, in order not to bore you out so early in the morning. I hope everybody had a good coffee and is awake and ready. And then we will also have time for questions and answers. Feel free to ask questions, like Emmanuel said, during the presentation on a particular point, maybe if you want to insist at the moment, and then I will try to answer it on the spot. I am Christian Cadéré. I'll present quickly myself. I have a PhD in computer science, specialized in graph algorithms and game theory. After this PhD, I didn't remain in the university world. I created a software company that made custom developments for various clients. I worked after that in different startups as a CTO. I kept a little foot in the academical world because I continued teaching at university because it's something I really like to do, and I like to be in contact with students, and also being in contact with students help recruit good students, the best students for your own company. So it's really a win-win situation. And now for a year, for more than a year, I work at WeYield as CTO at WeYield. So here is the plan of the presentation. So what's important to know is, despite the crisis, work goes on at WeYield. We are fully committed and mobilized to continue working and bringing you new features. And like Emmanuel said, our main goal at WeYield is to reduce uncertainty. That's what we work for. So that means that at the same time, we want to help you anticipating future demand, because of course this is really important. And also to reduce uncertainty, it's important to understand what happened in the past. So there is a quotation from the book 1984, who controls the past also controls the future. So in order to really master what's going to happen in the future, it's important to understand what happened in the past. So this is why we have worked on these 3 modules that you see on the screen. The first fundamental module that we have developed and are continuously developing for more than a year now is the forecast module, because the forecast is the module that really helps anticipating future demand. And we think this is the basis for yield decisions. We also worked on a critical, we call it critical because of the COVID context. It's the air analytics module that gives data from air traffic. So we really think this is critical at this period of higher uncertainty, because bringing data from external source really, we think, will really help you anticipate the demand, have a better view what's happening, and give you some real and important data in this critical period. And these 2 modules, forecast and air analytics, are really aiming at giving you a better vision of the future on yourself and for your activity. But also, there is a 3rd module we have been working on with the car performance index module. So something that aims at giving you a global view of what's happening in your market. And this module is more dedicated to the past, so you can better understand your performances and the market performances in the past, learn what happened, and of course, from that, adjust and change your strategy. So concretely today, I will try to give you an advanced vision of a more complex concept based related to the forecast. This is a more complex module. You will also have access to a module that can help you concretely tomorrow. If you want to subscribe on the air analytics module, the data is here, and concretely it can help you tomorrow. And a module that will help you have a more global and clear vision of the past.
I would like just to make a small interruption, Christian. As you've understood from the introduction of Christian, it is pretty a tough subject. So I would hardly recommend you, because we know that there is a lot of distractions, that you switch off your telephone, you put it on the flight mode, and eventually also you close your Slack, WhatsApp, emails, just to be concentrated and engaged with Christian for the next 30, 40 minutes in order to get the maximum benefit from him. So I give you the hand, Christian.
Have your mug of coffee next to you. So let's talk about the forecast module. So just a quick question before I begin presenting. Who is actually keeping an eye regularly at a forecast nowadays, despite the COVID period? Who looks regularly at a forecast nowadays? Okay,
I do, Peter.
So despite COVID, it's important for you to look at forecasted figures because they still help you have a glimpse of what can be happening. Budgeting.
The budget, okay, office, interesting.
Okay, nice. So even in this hard period of high uncertainty period, forecast is still helping you piloting, even if you know that the accuracy is not as high as it could be. Yes, not too accurate. I totally agree, Peter. Okay. So good to know. That's what we think also. Of course, we have begun to work on this module during the summer in 2019, so more than a year now. We had presented first results of the forecast in the Paris Academy, in the London Academy last year. And we have released the first version of the forecast at the end of the year, made some adjustment at the beginning of the year when life was still normal. And we also wanted to invest on this module. So last year, at the end of 2019, we also hired Adrien, who is a data scientist student who made a 6-month internship. So it was his last year internship on his study. So he was really specialized in as a data scientist, and he brought a lot of value to the forecast module because we really invested and wanted to invest in this module to bring new features, make it more accurate. And of course, at the beginning of the year, like I said, things were still normal, but even after COVID and during lockdown, we continued to work on this module because we really think that exactly even during this period of uncertainty, it's still an additional data. We know that the level of accuracy is not as good as it could, but still it can help. We have made a development in the forecast module in April. We changed some way the output of the forecast to adapt it to the lower demand, to make it more adaptive to the COVID period. And so we increased a bit the accuracy. Of course, it's not as good as it was before COVID, but still, we hope it can help you and bring a bit of data that can help you in your yield decision. We really think that this is an essential module for the apps for when activity will come back to normal. We want to continue working on it even in this period because when the activity will come back to normal, we want to have the best forecast tool available. So we will not stop working on it and say, okay, we'll wait for COVID to pass and then we will work again. No, because with the forecast as such, it's really, of course, critical to anticipate future demand, and also forecast results can be the basis for other modules in the apps that we have in mind, like a module that can help you have a better fleet plan, because with the forecast, with the level of demand, we could also help you build a forecasted fleet plan. So that's something that we have in mind. Just keep in mind that we have a dedicated webinar to the fleet management that will happen tomorrow at the same hour. So please subscribe if you haven't already. We also think that in the future, and it's a demand we could make some rate recommendations in the near future, but not today, but in the near future. But so to build accurate prices, we have to have accurate level of forecasted demand. And so the forecast is really, really important. A quick reminder. Okay, how it works today. So today, the forecast versus reality, we have talked about it. It's hard to have a reliable forecast because of all the unpredictable evolutions of the COVID disease, of governmental policies. Things change very quickly, number of diseases, regulation, travels. It's really a mess around the world. So it's really, really, really complicated. We all know that. So, but like I told you, we wanted still to work on the forecast. So what we did during this year, we made several technical optimizations of the forecast in order to improve the algorithms, and especially in order to adapt better the machine learning models to the specificities of the car rental industry. So, like I told you last year at the different academies, we use machine learning algorithms that are really established in the community, in the data science community. But an algorithm is just a tool. What's important is how you use the tool. So we made some research to improve the way we use the tool and adapt it to specificities of the car rental industry, and especially to give the algorithm a better understanding of the multiple seasonalities that happen during a week, a year, and so on. And just a reminder, so the V1, the first version of the forecast that was presented last year and put in production last year, did it work? And how does it work today? Because it's still in production. It's still in production. We have 4 algorithms, 4 machine learning algorithms that compete every day. So we have we try to make a forecast with them, and we evaluate what would be the best forecast, and we choose the best forecast for the day. And each algorithm has a set of parameters, so how the algorithm is tuned, and we have this set of parameters for everybody. Every company has the same set of parameters. We made some simulations by hand. We tuned the different algorithms to try to give the best performance on average for everybody. So this works, but we observe that it does not seem to be optimal, and also it can induce variance, because from time to time we can have 5 days out of 6 one algorithm, and sometimes another is chosen and it's not exactly the same forecast, and so you will have a spike or a drop, and so there can be variance. So we thought that an individualized approach would be better. So really, rather than making 4 algorithms compete, just a reminder, there were 4 algorithms because each one has strengths and weaknesses and is a bit more adaptive to the trend or a bit more adaptive to what happened last year. So that's why we had several algorithms to cover a more complete set of weaknesses and strengths. But after doing some research and putting it into production, so the real life is what teaches you what works and does not work. So it's normal to learn from this V1. We thought that it would be better to select the best algorithm for a team and try to find the best set of parameters for the team to adapt, in fact, to the pattern of activity of this specific team, because every company has a specific pattern of activity. So depending on the parameters of the algorithm, you can adapt more or less to this specific pattern. And also another thing that is of interest for us and that was asked by many clients who use the forecast module is to be able to filter the forecast. So we are able to make a forecast at a global company level because we have a lot of data. That's quite easy. But of course, you want also to pilot by car type, by region, by zone on a more filtered level to take yield decision on these filters because it's on the global company level, it's harder to take yield decisions. So also in a company, of course, you can have on the filter level patterns that differ from the global company pattern. So we want it to be more adaptive. Let me just check questions. Okay, I will answer to that indeed.
Christian, I would like just to interrupt. Do you have any kind of minimum set of data? Will it work for my station or my area, like 50 cars, 100, 200 cars? Or do you have a kind of minimum to make sure that the algorithms will be pretty reliable and efficient?
I wanted to get to that, but yes, it's a good question. Of course, it's the more data you have in volume or in history, the more precise the forecast can be. So if we drop below 100, 200 on rent per day, it's really hard to make an accurate forecast. We can still make some forecasts, but the accuracy will not be great. To have a really good accuracy, I think we really need to have like 400, 500 on rent activity, medium on rent activity on a period for at least 2 or 3 years. That really helps the algorithm to learn and predict with a high level of accuracy. So I will continue. So in order to adapt to each specific pattern, whereas pattern of companies or patterns of filters, we implemented something that is called cross-validation. So let me get to the cross-validation. It's really automatic learning of the best parameters. So we took our 2 best algorithms from 4 algorithms that we implemented and tested. We show in production that 2 of them were really usually the best. So we took 2 of them out. Okay, we tried them. Sorry, you did not pass the cut. And we kept only 2 of them. And for these 2 of them, we implemented a method of finding automatically what are the best parameters for a specific pattern of activity. So let me show you how it works quickly. So we select a pattern of activity, so the whole period of the whole history of activity for a client. We select an initial period that will be usually 1 or 2 years. So this will be the learning set, so where the machine learning algorithm will learn the patterns. And after that, we make a random generation of meta parameters, of the parameters for the algorithms. So depending of this random selection, like I said, the algorithm, the machine learning will be more prone to trend, more prone to the past year influence. So it really balances how the machine learning learn from the data. And then we start from a first cutoff period, and we make a forecast for a given horizon. So usually the horizon of the forecast is 30 days, a month. So we make a forecast for this period of past activity. So we know the real on rent. We have it in black, and we make a forecast. And then we shift the cutoff period by 2 weeks. And so we make for a given period like 20 consecutive forecasts. So we really try to tackle a long period. We make the forecast, and at the end we can measure the accuracy we had over a long period, so not to have an overfitting on a specific period. So okay, we can tune the forecast to be very good in February, but it will be bad in the summer. No, the advantage of cross-validation is that it can automatize for a long period, so we can cover different forecasts on a long period, and then see what set of parameters are the most accurate over like a whole year. So we can really cover the whole pattern of activity of the year. And so we make like hundreds of thousands of random, we test thousands of random parameters, and in the end, we get a set of parameters that gives the best overall accuracy over the year. So really, this could be handmade, but it would be very time consuming. What we want and what we like, one of the core value at WeYield is to automatize. So we worked on automatizing it so we can really scale up and adapt to every company, every filter, and really test tens of filters and find the best parameters for all these filters for a company. It's only computer time. So let's have a look at a quick result, at a quick simulation. So we learned on 2017 and 2018 for a test company, a test region, and we make a simulation on the whole year 2019. So this feels like another time. It was in another world, but still it's the last year, full year of normal activity. So this test region has a particular pattern. It has a peak of on-rent of about 800 during the winter period, which is different from the whole company, which has a peak in the summer. So it's really a specific pattern. What you have here on the 2 graphs, it's a screenshot from the apps, of course. So in black, you have the actual final on-rent. And in yellow to red, you have the different forecasts, depending on the window of the window. So forecast from 3 days ago, 7 days, up to 28 days ago. So that way you can really see what the forecast did predict X days ago and what was the final level of on-rent. And what we can see here in production, that 28 days before, the average accuracy of the forecast was around 89%. So this is the production data. And below, we have the same graph, but with a simulation. So after doing the cross-validation, and if we look at the 28 days accuracy, we've almost reached 95% accuracy. So we gain more than 5 points of accuracy by adapting the parameters of the forecast to the specific pattern of the region and using one algorithm, the best algorithm with the best set of parameters. So what do you think? Is 95% of accuracy a good accuracy for you? Do you think it would be the good level of accuracy for your yield decision?
I would say 95% a month in advance. Huh?
Yes.
Okay. Because to forecast tomorrow at 95, for us, it's important to give you enough window also. Really good, Peter. Thank you.
Of course.
Of course.
So,
Linda is typing from Italy.
What's the range of accuracy? That's a good question. For really large companies with like thousands of on rent and where we have historical data because they are all clients, at global level or card types levels, we can reach more than 97% accuracy even a month in advance. And we can reach more than 98% on a more short-term window, like 7 days. For patterns that are more difficult to predict or smaller companies, the forecast can maybe sometimes be 85%. So 85 is not very high. So let's say a bad forecast for us would be 85%, and a really excellent forecast, we can reach 98%. So 95% is already what we think is a very good range. It's not excellent, but it's already a very good range. Another question that I would like to ask you is that 28 days in advance with a good accuracy, if you have faith in the accuracy of the forecast, does it help you only on the revenue decision, or do you think it can help you also on the fleet decisions? Because we all know that yielding, you can have an effect of, you can change the prices, but you can also try to change the level of fleet to adapt. Yes, both, very nice. On your revenue? Okay. So because I asked this question because while Christine is typing, because fleet in terms of refleeting, okay. On your revenue. Well, you are on an island, Christine, so of course 1 month is a bit short to bring cars. But the idea behind that is that chasing accuracy is, of course, nice. It's always nice to have more accuracy, but for what purpose? Increasing the accuracy can have two effects. Or you want an horizon of 1 month, and we try to increase the accuracy the more we can, so you have more faith in the results. Or we can keep an okay level of accuracy, like you say 95% is okay for me, and then we can try to extend the horizon, and then, okay, having more accuracy means that we can have 95% accuracy on 2 months rather than 1 month. Rather than having 97% accuracy on 1 month. So I'm saying that because we really think that this forecast also can help you on your fleet decision, because for some of you, the horizon of the forecast needs to be longer.
I would like to emphasize one point for the audience. Keep in mind that we don't know the way you do your forecast. Apparently, you all do it, which is extremely good. However, keep in mind that the balance between the time required to manually do it compare to eventually a 93, a 92, a 95% accuracy, but made every day automatically. Okay? Try to balance and evaluate how much benefit it can give to you in your day-to-day operations, to really reinforce the way you analyze and take decisions for the future.
And especially on your main filters. So it's made automatically on a global company level, and on the filters you can set with your CSM. So it's really time saving. So I will answer the questions with my transition. So we worked on improving our use of the machine learning models and improving the tuning of our machine learning models. But also, of course, in order to have more accuracy, we also know that we can bring external data from the machine learning to learn from. Data from prices, for example, if we would have enough data about prices, your price amongst competitors, that could help the machine learning model to understand what's the influence of the price on your final on rent. And of course, there is another data that is very important. It's the air traffic data that can really help. That could really help the forecast module because, like we will talk about it in a few seconds, your level of activity is directly impacted by the level of directly on some key stations, but globally it's true. The air traffic volume has a direct impact on the car rental industry. So yes, Peter, we plan to get information from the air passenger traffic and use it in the forecast module. So you help me with my transition to our next module, which is the air analytics module. And so I would also like to ask you a quick question before presenting you this module. So amongst you, who actually uses data from air traffic? Who has access to it? So it can be data from the past months that are published by airports. Maybe some of you have some friends or contacts in an airline company who share with you some data. So who has access and who uses data from airline traffic? Helge, yes, you are looking at data. I think it was data from the past, if I remember correctly. Christine, you don't have it, only historical for Peter.
When you mean historical, Peter, how old? I mean, how frequently do you receive an update from the airport authorities? 1 week afterwards, 2 months? Okay, any other comment?
Monthly, yes.
So, okay.
Like I said, yes, the official data that is published by airports like a month after. It's still useful.
Marco, Linda, any comment?
Price of ticket, not yet. Okay, so we, of course, we know that this is a critical, actually, data, because usually people that will go at a destination, they book their tickets, they book their hotel, and afterwards they will book a car rental in this order. So having a view of the air traffic, the upcoming air traffic, is really a strong indicator of your future demand. So we made a partnership with a company that is called Forward Keys that was presented in a former session of the WeYield Academy at Berlin. Some of you here may already had a demo of this air analytics module, but just a reminder for everybody. So Forward Keys gives us data from GDSs. So this is the data set we have access to for the moment. So what does that mean? We don't have access to the reservations that are made on the .com, so on the website of the company. So the implication is that we have quite few data from low-cost companies, because from most of low-cost companies, the main selling channel is their own websites. So Forward Keys provides us with data about arrivals, about on-the-book arrivals for 6 months in the future, and all the past data, so all the final data for almost all airports in the world. So this is really a gigantic data set, really interesting data set. And the data they provide us a lot of data, and the data that we look at and that we use at the moment is the daily arrivals at the destination, and especially we use a length of stay. So we don't have access to the individual bookings. Forward Keys just says, okay, at this destination on a given future day, I will have 200 passengers. Among those passengers, some are making a one-way, so some are in transit. This amount are staying only for the day, and so we don't look at them. We don't look at people arrivals in transit or coming back after a trip or a one-way or staying only a day. We don't take these figures. We don't count them. We only count the people, the amount of people that will stay at least a night at the given destination. And Forward Keys gives us people, how many people stay for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 or 5 nights, 6 to 8, 9 to 13, and so on. So we have some kind of brackets. And so from these brackets, what we display in the Air Analytics module, so here we have a screenshot from the apps. We are in automatic, so we see the last 7 days and the 5 months that are coming. And so like any bookings graph, what you will see is the level of your future level of fleet, the final fleet of last year to have a comparison. In black, you will have your on rent, so your level of activity. And in green, you will have 2 indicators. The on-stay, so what we call the on-stay, it's really, so it's a computation from the amount of arrivals and the length of stay, like I said before. It's a computation of the amount of passengers that will still be present at the destination on a given day. So this is the amount of passengers that are still staying at the destination. And so we computed a smoothed figure in order to be able to correlate it with your on rent, which also is data that is smoothed among time. And you have the current level of on-stay for this year from air traffic, and also in the dashed line, the last year final, on the book, sorry, because this is very important, you have last year's on the book on stay for air traffic. So this is a screenshot I made yesterday. So we are mid-November, and you can see for a given destination, the on the book level of on stay for air passengers, and the on the book level of on stay in 2019. And a nice thing that we do also is that we automatically compute a correlation between your on rent on the book, the black line, and the current on stay, so the on the book from airline companies. So you can see if your level of activity really follows a pattern of the air traffic pattern or not. So the correlation is a statistical measure. The best score is 100%, which means that the 2 lines are totally correlated. 0% means that there is no correlation. So it would mean that your on rent does not match at all the pattern of air traffic, and there would be, of course, a problem. So having a high correlation means that you already have on the book a level of activities that correspond to the future level of on stay, sorry. And the second figure that we show below, that we compute also, is the last year ratio between the on the book air on stay and the final on stay. So we can see that for the whole range of dates, last year already 46% of the arrivals were booked at mid-November. So this gives you an indication on the lead time, on the maturity of the demand for the air traffic last year. So of course, we know that this year things are a lot different, but still last year you can see what percentage of the bookings were already made for the period at the same reference date. Let's have a look at, we make a little zoom at the end of the year. So we look at the period from the 15th of December to the 5th of January. We see that the correlation has dropped. So here we have a 61% correlation for the end of the year, which is still quite good. So it means that people coming by plane have already booked a reasonable amount of cars, some of them. And the last year ratio between on the book and final is 61%. So probably this year we are in a more late market. Probably for the air traffic also, people will book after they see how the regulations go, how the COVID level goes. So probably this year we can anticipate that a half maybe of the people have already booked, or less than a half. So let's say a half. So for the 19th of December, we have a current level of on-stay of around 1,200. So we can anticipate that it will double, let's say. But we can see that it's 6 times lower than what was happening last year. So of course, this period will be much more complicated. So we hope that this helps you. So you have your level of on-rent of 45. You see that there will be some demand. So this will help you about your decision. Do not drop the price too dramatically, because you know that the demand will eventually come. So passengers have already booked. There will be more passengers that will book. And you know that your rentals will be much later. You will have more walk-ins also. So don't drop prices, because the demand will come. Or eventually, depending on the pattern, you may even want to adjust fleet, go up, go down, I don't know. It's your yield decisions. I will finish this presentation and I will take questions afterwards. So this is the vision of the future. And of course, we also have the data from the past. Like I said, it's really important to analyze the past in order to understand the future. So let's have a look at a key period of activity. This is summer on a test on this account. It's the peak of activity of the year. And the peak is in July, but I have included the June period, because there is something really interesting that's happening in June. We can see the air demand rising and the on-rent dropping at the end of June. So question mark, what happens then? Afterwards, we have a peak in July, and then the level of on-rent gradually decreases much quicker than the level of on-rent. Of course, just a reminder, the scale are not the same for the on-rent and for the on-stay. Of course, these are different y-axes. So we can ask questions. In order to better understand what happened, so like we said in the forecast, there are mainly 2 things that you can help leverage in your yield. It's, of course, the number of cars and the RPD. So here you have a toggle with the revenue, and we also allow you to put on the graphs your RPD on that year and the RPD from the year before in orange. So what we can see here, adding the RPD, is that at the end of June, okay, the level of activity dropped, which is strange, but at least the level of RPD was really good. So maybe this was a strategy and it worked. So looking at the total revenue, maybe on this region, the company made a really good total revenue. So at least there is an explanation to the drop of on rent, because the RPD was very, very good. Still here at the end of August, we see that the level of on rent is decreasing, the level of on stay is quite stable, and the RPD is dropping also. So maybe on this period there was something better to do. I'm not the revenue manager for this team. Maybe this was also a strategy, but okay. Look at the past, analyze key period of activity, and putting them into perspective with the air traffic, I think will give you a lot of information about how you could do better in the future on these key periods. And one last feature, so you have another.
Christian, before, I just would like to emphasize one thing on this graph, which is really interesting. As you can see, the pink line, which is the evolution of the fleet in June. If you can if you can highlight it with your arrow, Christian. In June, as we can see, the fleet is much lower than what the graph. Yes, here, as you can see, the fleet is much lower than what they have in July. And this client told us that in fact he's struggling with the fleet management the fleet management to get more to get an in-fleeting a little bit earlier, like mid-June, and he was not able to get it since then. And now he can show really that yes, there is a demand. For sure, he's optimizing it with the higher RPD. However, what could be the benefit for the total revenue of the company if you can get a little bit more cars during this period in this airport? That's type of learnings you can get and really prove it for the company in order to justify potentially some investment or not, because then, as we can see, the RPD increase is an extremely good action to boost the profit.
So really, yes, a lot to analyze. I think everybody who is data oriented would like this kind of data. And another figure that we are showing, because it's important, the on-rent is the main figure we are showing in the apps. It's the level of activity. We smoothed a long time, but it's also important to know the days of departures for you and arrivals for air traffic. So this is the checkouts, your checkouts versus arrivals. So it's still the raw level of arrivals, where we have trimmed the category I've talked before, and I will come to your questions then after. So we have made the choice of keeping these only people that are staying only at least a night. And we show here on this graph the correlation between your checkouts and the arrivals. And we can see that they are nicely correlated, 81% correlation also on this display. And we think it can really help you know what are the important checkout dates, of course, to help you in your pricing decisions. So on-rent versus on-stay, checkout versus arrivals, in the past, in the future, all this data is already available in the apps for subscription. If you want a demo, ask your CSM manager or a quote. So this is really up and running. We have already clients that have subscribed, and we really think this module is important and critical during this time of uncertainty. So let's go to the questions. What would it be like for business customers that are just flying in and out on the same day and can book a nicer car as the company is paying? So we don't, you are right. At the moment, we don't take it into account. So we have a split for the data from ForwardKeys, we have the split between business passengers and leisure passengers, but we don't know. We know we have the split who stays only one day, who stays 1 night, 2 nights, and so on. But we don't know about businesses that stay for 1 night. We could do a whole lot of queries, but it would complicate things a little bit. We know that in the future, we will have to look at a clearer segmentation about business, leisure. We have also tried to make some estimation from the number of arrivals to estimate the amount of bookings, because of course a family with 4 people that will arrive will not make 4 rentals, they will make 1. So it would be nicer to have the number of bookings. We don't have it, we have tried to estimate it. But in all our tests, the correlation score between checkout and arrivals, or the bookings we estimated, was still lower than the figure we have presented. Keep in mind that this is not a forecasting tool. It's more about the patterns. What really matters is the patterns of activity. And you can see when you will have a higher demand on what day. Even if we compute 100 rather than 90 checkouts, let's say, arrivals on that given day, still what the most important, I think, for you is to know that this is a checkout, an important arrivals date, so an important checkout date for you. So this is when I will focus on my price, on the rental duration, and adjust my price accordingly. So really, I would like
to adjust for Sven also what we have identified for one client in Paris, Charles de Gaulle Airport, is in fact they have did not adjusted their price by checkout correctly to the demand, and they were having a higher price on one particular day, while in fact the expected demand, or at least the one that has already booked, was coming a day after. where their price was a little bit lower. So there was an opportunity, in fact, to make sure that their price remained consistent according to the air passengers' arrival. Okay, that's the type of benefit you can get in order to make sure it's totally adjusted.
So yes, Sven, we know that in the future we will have to work on the segmentation of the data for the business and try to go more in depth about the data. At the moment, this is what we've implemented and released, and we think it already brings a lot of value. But in the future, we will try to do better and go more in depth about in the data. Christine, the $1 million question. Of course, if we have the forecast and if we have the air data and we are able to make a very accurate forecast about passengers, we hope we will be able to build a rate recommendation engine. That's our goal. Not for next year, and 2022 maybe, depends of if things go back to normal. 2023, we don't know. We don't know about the future. What we want to do first is build trust. We want to have tools that you have faith in and you get used to use it on a daily basis, and you have faith in our forecast, you have faith in our tools. We also have faith in the data that we use, and when all these bricks will be built, then we will hopefully release a price recommendation. And if you have trust in our price recommendation, then we will release a price automation tool. So this will take a bit of time, but yes, it's a goal that we have in mind. With all this data, with precise data about air traffic, we think we will be able to do interesting things in the future. Peter, do you know how the trend is going for GDS booked files versus direct websites? Companies are pushing for direct bookings. So it really depends on the airport. We've seen some airports where the database from the GDS already has a high percentage share rate of the bookings. And we have seen some airports where the patterns are quite, not totally, but quite misleading. Again, what we aim at the moment is to look at the patterns of activity, not the real levels. Of course, in the future, with the real levels, and we will need the real levels to have a better forecast. So we want to have the real levels, and we are talking about forward keys in order to access another data set, but so we are working on it. At the moment, we look at patterns, and generally, on 95% of the demos we have made, the level of the patterns with the data from GDS was really enough, and the correlation with your own rent was already excellent. So we think that for the moment, it's enough. And of course, in the future, we will work to have a more complete data set. And for the percentage, I really don't know. Sometimes it can be 30%, sometimes it can be 60%, and sometimes it can be maybe 10%. Really depends on the airport, the destination, and the number of low cost, the amount of low cost that are operating. But still, on 95% on the demos that we have done so far, on really different kind of clients, continental, island, European, Maghreb, and so on, the pattern were really good with the GDS. Okay, I think I've covered the questions, and I will hop into the last module, which is a car performance index. So there's a quotation from an old political person in France, Talleyrand, who said, "When I look at myself, I'm appalled, but when I look at other people, I'm reassured." Of course, this just expresses the basic needs that we have to compare ourselves. This is human, and this is also true in business. It's, of course, important to know a lot and have really good insights about your own business, but it's always good to also know how the market is doing, because we have competitors. We all live in a competitive world, and it's really important to know how the market and my close competitors are doing. So we really think, we really saw this module like what exists already in the hotel industry, the STR report, the MKJ report, and it's really a standard. hotel managers cannot run their hotels without looking daily at the data from these reports. It's in their process. And we think it should also be in the process of car rental and of revenue managers. And why? Because it helps you analyze better the past, and it spread good practices. If you see that you are good and you're doing good things, but it helps you to keep doing them. And if you see that your competitors are doing things a bit different and that it works from them, you can learn and improve. We really think we have to improve this car rental market, and this module is aimed at that. At the moment, so it's also released. At the moment, we only do a monthly update because we think it's already interesting. And for this first version, we don't want to have something that is too heavy and complicated to run. So we have a monthly update. So let's hop into our first market. So this is a demo account, but it's real data from Guadeloupe. So we have deduplicated the data in an anonymized market, and you can see the Car Perfects module on the demo account. So what we have are here are the current month's KPIs. So we are in November. The last complete month of data is October. So we are in October 2020. And we have 5 KPIs, main KPIs, the RPD utilization, the RevCar, which is a product of RPD and utilization, the checkout, and the fleet. And what we show you is how you compare with the other person in your market. So here we have a market of 5 people. So the demo team has 4 competitors. We show the RevCar, so the indicator for your company, 12 euros. The average for the market, and we compute a score on a base 100. So we divide 12 by 14, and this gives 86 in a base 100. So below 100 means that you are below the market average. Above 100 means that you are doing better than your competitors. And what is interesting here on this example is that on the RPD, this team is third. On utilization, this team is also third. But on the RevCar, this team is last. So it's good to have good utilization. It's important to have a good RPD. But when you make the product of both, are you good? Are you bad? That's really a figure you should look at. Of course, we can also show last year data. And here a toggle to see the blue line. So the blue line is the level of activity in the 12 past months for the RevCar. Not activity, the level of RevCar among the area of the market. We have also KPIs from the past. So we have a reminder for this is still the RevCar. So on October 2020, you are last. Last year, you were third. So last year in October, you had the third RevCar on the market. Here you have the last 12 rolling months. So on the last 12 rolling months, you are fourth on the RevCar indicator. And the 12 months before that, you were third. So this really looks that on the market, on the RevCar, in 2018, you were in the middle of the market. In 2019, and it's slowly dropping. So that means you should do something about it. And here we have a reminder of the market. There are 5 competitors, and you see with whom you are compared. At the moment, it's WeYield that decides who decided the market to be sure that it's fair, that there are competitors of the same size. And the data is anonymized, so there is not 2 big companies that will amount for 95% of the activity, and 3 companies that do nothing. So we will set it up. It's available, but of course, no need to. It's not mandatory to subscribe to the piloting. Of course, having the piloting is nicer, but it's not necessarily mandatory. But to have it, you will have to have a competitive set of at least 4. So you and 3 competitors, and 5 is better. You and 4 competitors. So there is a discount on the first team that subscribes to it in the market. So if you are interested about it, talk with your competitors, and we can set up a market for you in the apps. So what do you think? Quick question. We are already at the end of the webinar, but quick questions. Who would be interested about such a tool? Do you think it could help you? in your yield decisions? For people that are still here. After that,
Linda is
wrap up.
fasting. Okay. Okay, some comments.
So really, once again, we really think it's important to do. It can be really important, of course, if you have competitors joining, but knowing how you fare, what are your performances compared to the others, especially in COVID, it's hard for everybody, but is it harder on you than the others? Is it better for you? And again, we think it should be a standard and it will help everybody. So it will spread good practices and help everybody. It's not a time to say, no, I don't want to share my data. I don't want my competitors to improve. If everybody uses it, it will improve for everybody, the practices, the revenue, and so on. It's time to learn from the hotel industry. Like you say, Linda, in the hotel industry, it is a standard. They don't think about, oh, no, I don't want to share my data. They all want to see it because it helps everybody. If everybody plays this game, it helps everybody. I'm finished at 11.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. So hopefully you understand a bit better on the spirit and all the innovation we have been releasing, and we have much more also that I will describe for the future this Friday at 10. Tomorrow we have also Nathalie Aubin, who is the fleet management consultant, and she will give you and share her experience about the fleet purchase. She has been working 30 years at Europcar France and Europcar International, so it will be really useful. For me, at the last, for the one who stayed, as I promised, we'll have this special gift for the one who would like to have a focus and help on how to optimize better on their own perspective. So feel free to write to us at this email address, and it will be our free contribution for the day. Have an excellent day, and talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you for the good questions. And Andrea, you cannot choose your competitors. You can invite them, and we will set up a market for you, no problem. So have a good day, everybody.